You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Earlier during breakfast conversations, Joe and I touched on this, but it's now time to get into the nitty-gritty of it. Like they say, the devil is in the detail. The leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party took a violent turn on Thursday, January the 29th, when a Board of Trustees meeting at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja erupted into chaos. The confrontation stemmed from a heated dispute between two claimants, Samuel Anyanwu and Sunday Ude-Okoye, both insisted on being the legitimate PDP National Secretary. The situation escalated into physical clashes as supporters of both factions engaged in confrontations. But here is what you should know. The BLT meeting chaired by Adolfo Swabara was disrupted as supporters of Anyanwu and Ude-Okoye clashed, forcing some officials to flee. The crisis follows a Court of Appeal ruling in December 2024, which declared Anyanwu ineligible for the position after contesting the Imo State governorship election. And also, despite the ruling, Anyanwu has refused to vacate the position, appealing the case to the Supreme Court and filing for stay of execution.
Well, as both factions continue to stake their claims, all eyes remain on the PDP's next move and the legal verdict that could ultimately settle the dispute. But what does this mean for the party's leadership and its future? Well, joining us now to provide insight is PDP chieftain and public affairs analyst Segun Sowunmi. Thank you so much for joining us. And I don't know what you have to say to the footage and what we saw that took place yesterday, but it didn't really look good at all, especially with the current administration who would be having the last laugh because they've already said and mentioned that the PDP will never be an opposition party, especially going into 2027. But first off, what are your thoughts about what we just saw and what took place yesterday? Some have tagged it to be very shameful.
Well, thank you very much. No one should support violence. No one should support unruly behavior. And no one should support the disturbance of the peace in society. But having said that, there's no big deal to it. I think it even tells you that perhaps PDP is a cat with 9 lives. You will ask, why are they even fighting and why are they even struggling to say they are this, they are that? If the party was not something that they desire or hope to, use to push their individual agendas and also maybe the corporate agenda. I think it's unfortunate that they allowed it to descend into that. I think it's careless on the part of the BOT people, for they would have known that that possibility could exist, given the fact that they are very aware of how contentious the matters are. And I don't think it would have been wise for them to have invited two contending forces to one meeting. And I suppose they would have also had to provide the right type of security conduct. I think it's irresponsible to see people in the presence of police officers who are in uniform even attempt to go at the police and then attempt to kick the door. This is nonsense. We are a nation of everything goes. Ordinarily, I would expect the police to go there and go and arrest people who can be found and identified in that rush and tell them to come and explain why the full lot of the law should not be placed upon them. But beyond that, the fact that after the little shenanigans, they were able to calm the situation. They still went on with their meetings. They released a communique afterwards. And thankfully, those who are members of the BOT are supposed to be the elderly ones in the party. So I suppose that now that the pain has gotten to the point where everybody has started, ouch, maybe now they're going to find some kind of lasting solution to the problem. I'll also expect the national NWC, I'll expect the people that have authority over the party in an executive role. I'll expect them to look at that, what has happened yesterday, and be very firm with their decision as to how that kind of nonsense must never happen again. The grounds of the political party should not be desecrated. If you really want to fight, you can go do that in the boxing ring or when you are seeing yourself outside. It's like saying you will go to the place where they're having a Federal Executive Council meeting and not be fighting. You must be a fucking barbarian. Mind my French, please. You must be a barbarian of the highest, of the lowest despicable nature to do that. But don't worry, it's no big deal. They will manage themselves. The law will take its course. The case that they are talking about has to do with who is the national secretary of the party. You know that the position of the law is clear. Yes, you may have a judgment until you exhaust all the avenues. You can't, take office. You still have to go to the Supreme Court, however slow, however irritating, you have to wait for it. And once the Supreme Court makes a decision, then we'll see what you can, you know what I mean, what you can then kind of carry out or enjoy the privileges that have been given to you. I can give you some background on that story. The law of the PDP, sadly, does not expect anybody who wants to go and contest an election in the strictest sense to resign. I didn't make the law, they made it. Now, the man who is the national secretary, which is Anyanwu, went to contest the election in Imo. The conversation was ripped as to who he should be resigned so that he can face it, but the law did not ask him to do so. The constitution did not ask him to do so, so he didn't do it. He didn't win, and he returned back. A lot of struggles here and there, but eventually he was able to produce, I think, something that allowed him to act in his office. This is considered not to have needed to resign according to the laws. Now, the people, the BOT and the people in the south, in Enugu, made up their mind that they wanted to start a new process, which is to say they are passing a vote of no confidence. They don't want him anymore, and they're bringing Okoye. They smartly ran to the Enugu State High Court and got a judgment saying that it should not parade, Okoye should. The case was appealed. Enugu Division of the Court of Appeal gave them judgment, affirming Okoye, or at least saying that Okoye should act. The man who has the original rights by Congress goes to the Supreme Court, gets a stay of execution. I don't understand why anybody should jump over and above the law. Sometimes you have to wait. And if you think that you are so powerful in the nation that has laws, I expect that the Nigerian police should be interested in why and who are those miscreants that were doing that in the vicinity of the party secretary. And for the Nigerian public, the masses, please, I apologize on their behalf. It is that they don't have shame, and they mean they had shame. A party that lost the election back to back and has a lot of responsibility as an opposition would not even allow the situation to degenerate to that. But do forgive them. It's just a storm in the teacup. When the law finally settles the issue, we'll move on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sowunmi, for giving us that recap. And like you rightly said, they had managed to calm down the warring parties, and the meeting went ahead yesterday. We heard from Senator Adolfo Swabara. Now, the PDP has announced that it will hold a National Executive Committee meeting in February. What specific outcomes are expected from this meeting, and how will it address the current leadership crisis and internal division? And do you also expect punitive measures should be taken against those who desecrated the Wadata Plaza yesterday by engaging in fisticuffs? Or it's an internal matter, it's gone, let's move on?
Thank you very much. The man makes the office, really. The garment will never make the monk, so they say. It is the weakness of those who are running the party in the first instance that certain level of indiscipline have been allowed to go unchecked, and because they've never really acted their role positively, appropriately, and strictly, everybody now has gone to their own devices. When they are going to go to the neck, I know that by our procedure, the acting national chairman in this case is the chairman that will convene the neck. Ideally, they will have a pre-neck conversation, which will determine what you call the agenda of the neck. Once they are done with that agenda, then they will go to the neck and just go and discuss it. I know the orders by which people are allowed to speak in neck. I know that the national chairman will give a brief. I know that the national secretary. I know that the national organizing. I know that the representative of BOT. I know that the representative of the National Assembly. Those people who have that duty to give those briefs are clearly known. And then it is the agenda that they bring to NEC that is on the agenda of NEC that will be discussed. hopefully, they will do a thorough introspection, knowing fully well that the noise and the decibel around the party is a bit on the high side, and that the general public is a bit wondering, why can't you guys just settle yourself so that you can get ready to the business of trying to, march towards the next election? But, organizations are structured in such a way that people must be very, very careful who they give responsibility to in organization. And that once you give them that responsibility, you have to just endure the tenor. For even if you wanted to step over them, your organizational framework and the laws that you are operating yourself by, which is your constitution and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, can be thrown at you, and you will just be in court for a long time arguing over what should not really become an argument point. So I think that until they get to the neck, before we know what the agenda is, until they release their post-neck decision, before we know what the issue is. But in terms of that nonsense that took place yesterday, I'll be very, very disappointed if the Damagun-led NWC does not wield the very strong big hammer to just send a message that that kind of nonsense will not be tolerated. You cannot be so big to the extent that you force your way over and above the party, bringing thugs and bringing people to just come and start acting like, I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but never mind. The party has organs at the lower level, at the wards they are doing well. At the states, they don't have that much problem. At their zonal meetings, minus Southeast, there's not much of a problem. So if it is just the national, and even at that national, maybe only 2 offices. The office of the national chairman, where people are saying they want people to step aside so that another region completes their turn, depending on your interpretation of that, and maybe the national secretaryship now. And there are about 17 people there. So if you have challenges with only 2 of them, it's still not a bad average.
All right.
I'm sure that they will be common sense to know that nobody is interested in this kind of nonsense.
All right, Mr. Sowunmi, I do have a 2-point question for you this morning. Do you think that the PDP has been infiltrated? Do you think so? Because some persons have said that, looking at the fact that the FCT minister has not been sanctioned, nothing has happened, it's given rise and it's given, so to say, powers to others to equally do as they wish. So do you think the PDP has been infiltrated? In other words, do you think it would be able to stand as a political party to beat at the 2027 elections? That's one. My second question to you simply is, there are also mentions that some persons will soon believe in the PDP as well. We've seen recently some senators have, in Nigerian language, have ported to the APC, which seems to be a recurrence. These 2 questions, I'd like your answers on them. First off, do you think it has been infiltrated, seeing that the FCT minister has not been summoned, sanctioned? And secondly, as well, do you see others leaving the PDP to the APC? And would you be leaving the PDP very soon, Mr. Sowunmi?
Okay. All right. The first question that you're talking about, whether the PDP has been infiltrated. You see, a political party of the nature of PDP is a very organic organization. Some people look for every excuse to go to where they think the grass is greener. Some people are really tired. Some people are just being mischievous. Some people are demarketing the party in their unfortunate desire that maybe when they leave, the party will be weak. All of that is rubbish. And the PDP has demonstrated over the years that it's such an elastic organization and that there's no limit to its elasticity. If you leave the PDP today, somebody else takes over your position immediately. And you may be shocked that you may think they will miss you, and they may not really miss you like that, because it's that type of party. And I can give you a few pointers to make that point. Obasanjo Forest Cat, what did that really matter? At some point in time, they don't supported them. President Goodluck Jonathan has not really been active there. They still ran an election in 2019, and they ran another one in 2020. Even as we speak today, there's hardly anywhere in the country where PDP is not either the first or came second in an election. All of the off-season elections we've done, we won in Bielsa. We believe we even won in Edo, but we're caught on that. We didn't do well in Kogi, we didn't do well in Imo, but, we did well in Ondo. We came not so well, in terms of number, we were the next, like the main opposition. So you can't ever say that a party that always comes second is going to die because of some wishful ideas that people don't even know what they're going to make of it. So I don't think that will happen. I think people will leave, people will come, people will leave, people will come. Aregbesola, as just said, is left the APC. Nobody knows what's happening with Nasiru. Because it's the nature of our politics. In terms of whether they've not sanctioned Ike or they should sanction them, I'm kind of like tired of this conversation. I said I expect the media to have also rested it. If the party doesn't see anything wrong with what Governor Ike is doing, why is everybody trying to insist that they must see something wrong with it? He's one man. He's serving. We have told the world many times over that that situation is not unusual. It's never been done before, and it's also a peculiarity of the kind of energy and character of the personalities we're talking about. So there's really not much you can force them to do there. In terms of whether they should punish other people, I think that I have always been an apostle of PDP. It's time to reform. You've been around since 1998. You won election, you've lost the election back to back. If you lose the next election, that would mean that you've lost for the 16 years for which you won. Why don't you let us go back to the drawing board for the basic, reform the party, review our processes, check and see why our issues are the way they are, not start telling ourselves that we were rigged, even though we may have been rigged. Figure out why it was easy for us to be rigged. Why are the Nigerians not backing us? Is our messaging needing to be changed? These are the things I expect us to be doing, not all the childishness that is going on. And you've asked me a question whether I will leave the party or not leave the party. I think I've come to the point that what more can I even really contribute there? Even though I've been so passionate, I've been so loyal, I've been so long-standing. But,
All right. Well, a little
I have
bit.
to ask, if they're not listed, if they're not giving you the opportunity to reform it in the direction that you think benefits all of us, and if you are coming from a part of the country where, if you are not even careful, even at the best of PDP's machination, you are climbing against a hill. You have to consider it. But my position is that you don't have to insist that the only role a political party serves in opposition or in the country is just to be saying they're running towards the next election. Political parties must deepen ideology. Political parties must stand for something. The democracy is shrinking. More people are not coming, and that's why I created the alternative movement. Ironically, you're speaking to me today, I'm in Enugu, where I'm having the zonal town hall meeting to engage the Nigerian citizens to discuss the conversation on the democracy. Why are we doing vote buying? What can we do about that? Why are you not turning up? What do we need to do about that? Why are you not joining parties? Why are you not presenting yourself? These are the kinds of conversations. A re-engagement of the citizen for democracy. That's what I think makes sense to me and is useful for my time. And I will look at the next election in a very critical manner. I've said to the PDP, elections are a two-way referendum. If the referendum suggests that the ruling party is doing something creative better than the Met, and the referendum suggests that the opposition is not serious, nobody is going to follow the opposition. People won't leave the party that is doing something, however serious, to go and follow the one that is not managing the server. And I can guarantee you, Otumba Sowunmi, the son of Samali Sowunmi, I will not lose the next election. I've lost enough. I've stayed by to support us losing enough. I'll push us as hard as I can, but no, at some point in time, I'm going to say enough. The ideology that they are running is not exactly pristine. Why should I then say I'm going to be here after I've been here for all of the years that PDP has been in existence? So if you ask whether I'm going to be in PDP, I may. If you ask me whether I'm going to leave PDP, I may. But right now, what I'm talking about is the alternative movement, trying to re-engage the Nigerian citizens, to stimulate them, to encourage them, to let us have faith in this democracy, to let us expand our dialogue process in democracy, to let us remanage our conversational style and our narrative style in democracy. I don't accept that because we're in democracy, we have to keep demarketing our country in the midst of other countries in the world. I don't accept that our concept of democracy is not to provide an alternative way of doing things, an alternative policy set. I don't accept that our concept of democracy is to convert the country into tribal fiefdoms and begin to make the front lines of the country ugly. I don't accept that our concept of democracy is that government at the national should be so weak that they cannot even provide leadership and they cannot say enough. These are the things that is enjoying my energy. And I call you and enjoy you all to come on board, because really at every point in time we need an alternative. I'm not trying to make it into a political party, because I think that we have 17 or 18 already, and we don't have to make a list of 30 political parties just to pick a few good men. So we may end up just saying, okay, this is what we're thinking, this is what we're hearing, this is what the citizens are saying, and this is what we're recommending for the Nigerian nation. That's what I can say for now, because to ask me to say I'm going to be pledging my permanent loyalty to people that are not serious, then I must be a damn compound fool.
Interesting conversation there. Thank you so much, Mr. Segun Sowunmi. A lot of introspection that you've proposed for the PDP to do so as to emerge as a very viable and serious opposition in Nigerian politics. We did enjoy speaking to you this morning on Breakfast Central.